Hello, we are here at Voices of Practice to give voice to mental health practitioners and their lived experience of the work, to highlight different therapeutic approaches and emerging themes in practice, especially in Asia. And we are here today from Singapore with two counseling psychologists, Karnina and Wei Xin. And Dian and Wei Xin, both of you form a counseling practice called The Connection Ground, and that's where you're at now. And Dian, you are an Indonesian counseling psychologist based in Singapore, and you offer sessions in both English and Bahasa Indonesia, while Wei
Mhm.
Xin, you offer sessions in English and Mandarin, which is really impressive. And I understand that both of you have had extensive trainings in Singapore as well as overseas, especially in Europe. And there's so much to explore here, and I'm really excited. But we'll just start with basic introductions. What drew you both into counseling psychology?
Good stuff. For me, the gateway to counseling psychology was actually through Dian because I didn't know about counseling psychology until I met Dian, who was already a counseling psychologist at work. And I appreciate the philosophy behind the, the field in that it combines science from research and self-reflection on our practice as well, and see how it guides our way of being with the client. I think that really resonated with me reading about the philosophy behind all of this practice. And yeah, that seemed to spark my interest into finding out more about the context in which difficulties are embedded in. And yeah, I think the fascination or passion just grew from there.
I mean, for me, I think it was the the perspective of looking at strength as opposed to deficit that is important, or rather aligned to how I see things as well, and really making the most out of the resources that we've got. And that's really how I see the world, and
Mhm,
that's quite aligned with how counseling psychology philosophy is.
mhm,
Less so about finding what's wrong and
mhm,
kind of what the issues are. And of course those have merit as well in understanding what is, maybe if there is any diagnosis or anything, but
mhm.
not using that as a main model was something that was aligned with my own values and philosophy. Yeah.
I see. It's quite interesting when Wei Xing mentioned to counseling psychology is also part of the self-reflection, is bringing yourself into the room, and that creates the authenticity between you and the client, and
Mm.
also the more positive aspect, moving away from the medical model in that way. That's amazing. And what experiences or influences have shaped how you work with clients in the connection ground today?
Okay, I can start, I guess, in terms of growing up, but also just adulting with various influences in terms of cultural influences, different countries, different societies. I think I've been privileged in really getting, just absorbing the good from different communities, groups, and but also then I've been informed by their stressors as well as pains. And I think those collective experiences, for me personally, what shaped me as a clinician. And I I really bring myself fully, not just as a clinician, but
Mhm,
as a human being, as a person that has influenced all that. So
mhm,
for me, it's very important to offer, just genuine and authentic empathy
mhm.
and understanding, not from just knowing theories, but just lived experiences. I think those are very important to me, as opposed to just the modalities that I
Mhm.
practice. Yeah.
I see.
I think similarly, it's a collection of life experiences and living in different countries. Very privileged to be able to meet people from different backgrounds, either professionally or personally, and get to have a more in-depth understanding of their world and how it integrates with my world as well. So
Mm,
very grateful for those experiences. And
mhm,
I think in addition to that, maybe that personal experience of therapy, being on the client's side of the room, having that experience of like knowing actually what works for me as a client, I think that helps to shape my practice and the kind of environment that I would like to offer therapeutically as well
Mm.
in my practice.
Yeah, I completely agree with that because I think we can only take the client as far as we've gone, places that we've been,
Mm.
and that includes just journey of understanding ourselves. And I think I realize grow more genuine and deeper empathy, like the more pain I've been in. So that's also the cost of being a very attuned clinician. I guess it
Mm.
requires you to also have experienced a lot of life experiences,
Mm.
including painful ones. So I think bringing in those genuinely is important for us, I guess. Yeah.
Mm. Yes, and especially since both of you have had so many different cultural influences, being in Singapore, which is super rich and diverse, and
Mm.
people are plucked out from different places and popped into
Yes,
Singapore as well. I think
exactly.
that brings in quite a lot of you into the room too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and on this note, are there particular client themes or life stages that you feel especially connected to? And it has shaped sort of maybe your caseload or the clients that come to you?
I think for me, clients who experience difficulties in certain aspects of interpersonal relationships or ways of relating to people, that seems to resonate with me as well. But it's an
Mhm.
interest I have for the moment. And people who are navigating life transitions in different ways, in different parts of their personal life or maybe professional life as well.
Mm.
Those are also speaking to me. Um,
Quite similar, but I noticed that, I mean, the clients find me, and I guess the client find me for specific reasons. Maybe it seems like they connect with some parts of my experience in life because I write in my profile that
Mm.
this is a second career, for example, like I did
Mhm.
a major transition in career. So people going through transitions in life naturally find that relatable.
Mhm.
I also have, I guess, a group of people dealing with
Mm.
caregiving in different contexts. And I also write in my profile that caregiving was a big part of my life as well.
Mm.
Or as a queer person, then clients relate to me when it comes to maybe identity forming or just relational issues that might be, yeah, not, or maybe might be less understood by clinicians who don't have lived
Mm.
experiences in that aspect. So yeah, we really bring ourselves and they really connect with certain experiences
Mm.
that we have that we put out there, I guess.
Yeah. I
Mm.
think, yeah, thank you for sharing it. I think that's quite important. And I think you summarize how important to have a diversity of counselors, clinicians, and therapists generally, because there is a
Mm.
diversity of people. And then the connections are the kind of the transference in that way. It's very important for counseling to work
Mm.
for different people.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I see the camaraderie between you two. I see there's a it feels like you guys have y'all. Sorry, I'm gonna start again. I see the camaraderie between you two, and it feels like you have known each other for a long time prior to forming this Connection Ground practice. How did Connection Ground begin as a partnership and practice?
We did know each other quite a while ago. I think it
Mhm.
was 2017, right? So both of us were working at a nursing home with people with dementia, so very different population from the
Mm.
people that we are working with right now.
Mhm.
But I think it was a short period, it was 1 year or something before Wei Xin
Ah.
decided to further her study. But I think in that 1 year, I remember working very well with her and just connecting with her and trusting her as a professional and just having that chemistry. But I think after that, we were not in contact that much. We just
Mhm.
like maybe once in a while we kept in touch or our birthdays are quite close to each other. So then we just remember sometimes we okay say happy birthday. But
Mm.
I think in the past 7 years we were not really connecting much. But I guess that shows that when there was genuine connection, I don't
Mm.
think it goes away. And when we reconnected recently, yeah, it just feels natural. I mean, that's what my experience is.
I
Yeah.
see.
And Dian started the connection ground, and I was very lucky to be invited to be part of her practice. So yeah. It's,
And I think it was also just some kind of serendipity. I don't know, like we were starting out this company, and that was around the same time that she came back. So then we just reconnected, and then we just talked over lunch, and then it happened. Yeah.
I think it's really cool when I read the Connection Grounds website and I saw the diversity of languages that just one practice provides. It's awesome. And was there a particular gap in service that you would like to fill with the Connection Ground?
For me personally, I think working with minority stress is important, whether it's, racial, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender identity, disability. I mean, profiles really speak to me because I guess to a certain extent, yes, I've been very privileged in my life, but I also have been marginalized a lot in life in different ways. So my personal mission was to have, or is to have, a space where people are not being questioned, or they don't have to explain themselves for who they are. They can feel safe in just bringing themselves fully. And I practice IFS, and I mean, IFS is about parts. So it's really that all parts of them are welcome here. And that's my personal mission for this space. So even in finding the location, the physical venue of the practice, we were looking at different places, and one of the consideration factors was like accessibility and making sure that if people need like wheelchair or anything, that they can still access the place. So things like shop houses then were ruled out because it's not very accessible. So yeah, so I think that's the whole idea of this space for me. Yeah. And I don't know whether that was related that related to her, but I mean, it is what it is. She has no choice than to just join it as it is.
very luckily, it does resonate with me. And yeah, I think part of my philosophy behind my own practice is wanting to meet anyone at any point in life that they're at with any aspect of difference in their identity, for them to find a space that is safe and inclusive for them, whilst recognizing my privilege as well in different ways, which is my race in this country, being part of the majority, wanting to also form that bridge, if it's possible, of being able to understand that difference, and for that person to have that environment of knowing, actually, even if there are differences in backgrounds or identities between people, it is still possible to foster connection and safety in these interpersonal relationships extending outside of the therapeutic relationship.
It's very cool. And I understand that it's a fairly new and young venture with the Connection Ground. How has it been so far in terms of expectations versus reality?
Much expectations, actually. I was just really, or at least for me, it was just a huge leap of faith, and taking really one step at a time, in like not having a big goals. If you ask me also, what am I expecting for the future? I don't know. I have no idea. To be honest, it's really just knowing that I wanted to have a sense of safety for my clients that is supported by a physical environment that feels also safe for them. And for me, it's also important to connect with my colleagues. So I also have this space with 3 therapy rooms, even though there's just the 2 of us, so that other practitioners could also come in, and we could meet and we could connect, collaborate, wanting to have some sense of community. So the expectation was just, okay, don't want to be so lonely in just doing solo practice. I guess the reality has been matching up. I mean, we see people in and out, friends. I mean, friends, not random clinicians, but our friends, which is great to say hi and just have peer support, I feel. And in terms of the actual practice itself, I think I think it's going okay because okay, I don't want to jinx it, but so far so good in terms of just people finding us and
Mm,
people finding us with specific,
mhm,
I think, interest or curiosity that are aligned with us. So we
mm,
always say, oh, is our website too weird or too strange or like, will people come and find us? So whenever we see people writing into us,
mhm,
we feel like, oh, actually, okay, like people relate to us. So,
mm,
so we feel quite assured and
mm.
quite, for me, I'm content with where it is right now. Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
me same. I feel very appreciative of any client who's walked through the door so far, appreciating the work that we've been able to do together. And yeah, it also means a lot to us when they say that
Mm.
they read something from our practice website or from our Instagram page
Ah,
that resonated with them. So that's maybe something that we are continuing to work on as well, that
mm,
information that we're sharing, putting out to the public in quite a public space that hopefully is able to help people, even if
mm,
they are not a client of ours, that it actually resonates with something that somebody comes across and can become a resource for them as well.
Yeah, I
mm,
mean, I chuckled at the Instagram page because it's been such a struggle to put it out there for us. It's not easy for us to be out there and
yeah.
be present and
Mm,
but yeah, we try to just connect with the intention and the purpose,
mm,
which was also for me personally, it was to make mental health more accessible to people,
mm,
even if they can't access therapy. Hopefully they get something out of the content that would help them. But when we see potential clients relating to the content and inquiring, that feels very, yeah, it feels very, we are very honored and privileged that like, oh, okay, they see what we are doing and they
mm.
are coming to write to us. So we don't take that for granted. So it's going, I guess, better or as expected, but I don't want
Mm.
to jinx it.
I'll touch wood for you here. Actually really, yeah, like you mentioned, it's quite reassuring to know that your very relaxing website is actually inciting quite a lot of excitement to, and your physical space that you thought so much into it is also kind of inviting the connections. So yeah, it's really a connection ground in the three therapy rooms, not just
Yeah,
with clients and you, but also with the
no.
community of
Yeah,
practitioners.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, when we had this space open last month, we invited some colleagues and friends to just warm the space with us. And we
Mm,
were joking, oh my God, this is really the connection ground. Because then friends who knew each other from before, then they, oh, like say hi to each other. And some friends wrote to me that they were just, yeah, happy that they connected with ex colleagues and friends in the
mm,
space. And yeah, so I saw a real need for it, and especially a lot of us in private practices are operating in a very isolated manner. So yeah, the so we really be joking. We were jokingly saying that yeah, it's like the ground connection for old friends and stuff. So which really, warmed my heart. It made me
mm.
happy to hear that.
That's very important. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. And Dian, you integrate quite a lot of things in your practice. There's cognitive behavioral therapy, there's schema therapy, there's internal family systems informed therapy, and also EMDR. You also practice with couples and relationship therapy, and you use
Yes.
the Gottman Method and also internal family systems. But how do you usually describe your practice to others when people ask you, what do you do?
I don't really describe it based on the modalities that I use,
Mm,
but it's really more of like responding to the needs that are in front of me. So I see all these acronyms are just toolbox that are like
mm,
tools in my toolbox, but it's really more of responding to, yeah, but the presentation, the needs, the longing, and also the readiness of clients, because understanding clients' readiness and also just way of processing
mm,
information. Some clients require a bit more structure and framework. Some clients are already very experienced in
Mm.
therapy and they need a bit more just emotional connection and yeah, just feeling their nervous system and stuff like that. So it really depends on who I'm working with. And
Mm.
so I wouldn't say that, oh, it's doing all in my practice, but
Mhm.
it's just picking out what would be needed by the client.
Mm.
Yeah, that's for me.
That's good. And what would you want potential clients to understand before starting therapy with you, Dian?
Oh, that it's going to be a very collaborative
Mm.
approach and process, and it can get quite uncomfortable. Like maybe there is some, maybe, I don't know, there's some assumption that the therapist or the clinicians will do the work and somehow they will be healed, and maybe like doctors like, oh, give medicine and since they feel better.
Mm.
So I work well with clients who are curious, who
Mm.
are prepared to do some work. And of course, I explain my approach beforehand to potential clients coming in. But I think we could all use the reminder that it's actually work. It's not,
Mm.
it's actually a process that they have to actively participate in. Yeah, I think that's important for me. Mm.
Awesome. And Wei Xin, for you, you specialize in person-centered therapy and acceptance and commitment therapy, compassion-focused therapy, and also cognitive behavioral therapy. On a similar note, how do you usually describe your practice when people ask you what you do?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question and very similar to Dian, actually. I was thinking about this. I think what I would describe it as it's like having a conversation with someone, trying to be helpful as much as possible, which would mean asking about their needs, finding out
Mm.
more about how their context or situation is like, and maybe even preferences for their style of therapy, what works for them. Yeah, I think considering their previous experiences of therapy can be very
Mm.
helpful as well to know what are the effective ingredients or maybe essential ingredients that a person needs to feel connected to the therapy and to this process of growth or change for them. So I think it's a very, as Dian described, a collaborative approach.
Mm.
The therapeutic plan is informed mainly by the clients, what we call client factors, or yeah, clients, what makes them who they are that would shape how that process is being integrated from that therapeutic perspective of like
Mm.
which model would fit them and always explaining what that model would look like for them to have an informed decision that they can make together with me as well
Mm.
and see what feels like is suitable at each point of the therapy.
Mm.
Always checking in to see whether this feels like relevant,
Mm.
whether this feels like something that could be feasible to work with together with me. Yeah, so I would say maybe more of a flexible approach if possible and assimilating certain ingredients that might be assessed to be yeah suitable for the person's process.
I see. Thank you. It seems like it's also keeping check of the somewhat accountability. Like this is working out, this is not working out. How do you want to move on from here? And this allows them to also be part of the process.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And what would you want potential clients to understand before starting therapy with you?
Hmm. That therapy is perhaps a space that can encompass a range of different feelings, maybe hopefully feeling more resourced in their
Mm.
regulatory systems or being able to also know that it's not always easy being in this therapeutic
Mm.
process. It can be challenging at times or maybe confronting for certain people
Mm.
to talk about areas in their life where they haven't really spoken about before. So we have the understanding that it's not the smoothest process
Mm.
sometimes, or it takes a bit of time, and that's okay. And that we are very open to hearing about what can help them feel like this is a safe space for them to facilitate that process.
Yeah, that they actually own the process.
Mm.
We are just facilitators. So it's very important for them to also take ownership and And I
Mm,
guess for some people it doesn't come naturally, and maybe for some people that's the very goal of their therapy process, which is to have a sense of autonomy, and if they can really take ownership of that and
mhm,
even let us know when certain things are not working, how they feel, their needs and unmet needs, then that's actually more beneficial
mhm.
to their therapy journey. Yeah.
Oh, I just thought about this question because not everybody is ready to own the journey. How do you usually work with clients who need to bridge that gap to owning that journey? It could be either.
Mm.
Yeah. I think maybe highlighting that they contemplated starting therapy or they have started therapy for a reason, that maybe there are times when they might experience inertia or
Mm,
feel unsure, but I'm not sure whether this still is something that I want to go for, to try something different. At the same time, here you're in this space because you were looking for something to change in your life.
mm,
So I think maybe bringing that to light or to the forefront of their
mm,
mind as well can be helpful for them to make that choice of like actually what feels like a better decision in that sense, what could make my life better sometimes might not be the most comfortable decision to make. At the same time, I'm here because I'm wanting to break a pattern, so I might need to look for something different to
mm.
try and to have them on board with that process of change as well.
Okay.
Completely agree. I reflect a lot in terms of what I see from my clients.
Mm,
And I mean, of course, some clients are really, really not ready because of certain trauma and all that. But
mm,
even then, having, like what Wei Xin mentioned, having made the appointment, having reached out to us and being here, that already counts as them taking ownership of the
mm,
journey, at least starting the journey. And if they had intentionally booked, let's say, an introductory session with us and chosen to work with us, that's already a lot of decisions that they made on their
mm,
own. So really being able to surface that to their awareness. Sometimes they don't see it. Again, I guess our philosophy is really what they already have,
mm,
focusing on the resources, what they're already doing. And sometimes it helps for them to be aware of these wins that they already managed to achieve. Yeah.
mm. Awesome. And when therapy is effective, what kinds of changes do you tend to observe first? What usually shifts in the work?
I think for me, some examples are the way they talk about themselves. Like there's more of a widened perspective, like from I'm not good enough, or I didn't deserve this, to actually, yeah, I was able to assert my boundaries this time.
Mm,
I did notice myself having more space to breathe through these feelings or sit with these
mm,
feelings compared to how I used to engage with them or suppress them. So
mm,
it's these subtle differences in how they speak about their experiences that for me are maybe not the most quantifiable
mm.
and nonetheless significant to note as a change in that therapeutic process.
And just having more space in the way they experience things, like the way they talk to themselves is a clear marker, often with more curiosity or with a bit more kindness, and they are not so fused or
Mm,
focused on one perspective, and being able to offer themselves some empathy and compassion, so that spaciousness in just sometimes holding their own pain, like yeah, it's painful, but it's okay. So even just small things like that, it's very, very important, very important
mm,
milestones. Yeah, I think, I mean, the like, of course, bigger, more obvious signs are changes that they make if they decide to start having difficult conversations or activate some courage in pursuing what's meaningful for them. So those things we celebrate a lot. And of course, therapy doesn't have to lead to that, like changes in life, but it's really how they see themselves, how they speak to themselves, and whatever decisions that they make, big or small, as long as it's like it's mindful, it's coming from meeting their needs, then that's what we want for them.
I see.
Yeah. It's really heartening to see that internal shift and how they can harness that to apply it to the external world as well and make those external changes that can improve their life and feel empowered to continue charting their own path.
So, like, to the little things that they do to be unstuck, like out of whichever situation that they're in, to kind of just do something a bit different, and that itself is already a win in that way.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
And has the counseling field shifted in Singapore in your perspective? When you first started, you started quite a long time ago in the nursing home. And now that you kind of look back at the counseling field, has it shifted in your perspective? In terms of maybe client presentations over the recent years, are clients coming in with more modern pressures or things like that?
Well, in the nursing home, I don't know whether we did much counseling. I mean, it was very much like behavior management of the residents that we had. Yeah, it's very different working with people with dementia and now. So, but in terms of clients that I see now, I don't know about the trend in counseling. I think I'm quite isolated in that way. I don't really connect much externally. Unfortunately, we should do better. But otherwise, in terms of the presentations coming to the room that I see, I think people carry more just chronic world stress, like with whatever is going on in the world, whatever is going on in society, discrimination, wars, and just a lot of brokenness in society. I think, or I don't know whether these are just clients that are coming to see me because I am speaking to minority stress and all that. And so then I see a lot more of that. So we hold more than just the client's so-called issues, but there is like a bigger context where these issues sit within, and also clients interact with environmental factors that are not within their control. So I think for me, at least, being more aware of what's happening out there, what's happening in the world that is affecting us as human beings, because it is not about just finding what, I mean, to begin with, we don't do that, but it's not about, finding what needs to be fixed or worked on the client, because sometimes the issues really sit externally. It's not them, it's people around them, it's society around them. And sometimes clients need to hear that there's nothing wrong with them. So I think the awareness of the bigger context and picture, to me, feels a lot more important for clinicians to hold these days compared to before. I don't know about before, but at least for me, increasingly, I feel like that. Yeah.
It's like it's a normal reaction to a very abnormal situation in that way.
That sometimes they need to hear that. Like nobody tells them that. They just feel or think that something is wrong with them.
And things are shifting very fast in this world, and it's very different from how our bodies are meant to evolve to take.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. The pace of change has accelerated based from how I've experienced the world over the last few years. There's maybe some change in stability that comes with that pace as well, like needing to keep staying updated with everything that's going on and how that has maybe sometimes not the most explicit but a subtle impact on our minds, bodies, the stress that we accumulate along the way. I think
Mhm.
all of these being recognized in the therapeutic space can be quite crucial as well. That the context is just so expensive nowadays.
Yes.
Something that needs to be taken into account as well when we're working with the individual, because all of us are also products of our environments, whether it's our immediate environments or the world around us.
On that note, how do you feel about your practice within this extremely volatile and versatile space where you constantly would need to hold a lot more of the world and a lot more of the client's world within your space of counseling? How do you feel about that?
Quite vulnerable sometimes. Quite personally, sometimes feel quite stressed as well because yeah, it is a big job and a very important job. If this is to some clients, unfortunately, like this is the only safe space where they can be and they can really just relax, and to hold that space for them is such a privilege, but also quite a stressful task as well. And of course, I'm human as well. For me personally, I feel that there are parts of me that also want to do more and want to do a good job in doing that. So because we take this very seriously and we take this as a privilege and as an honor, and but that comes with that sense of responsibilities, which is important, because yeah, these are human beings, precious individuals coming through our doors, and we want to do our best. But yeah, it comes with such sense of vulnerability as well. Like in the event that we we don't do things well, or like I don't know. So there are always parts of me that are doubting myself, like, oh, are we doing enough? So that can feel quite confronting as well.
Yeah. I think feeling vulnerable definitely an aspect of it. And I think with that vulnerability comes with feeling more human in the therapy room with our clients. Yeah. There are a number of issues that they might bring into the session. It feels quite live for them and for us as well. So in some ways, it can feel like a point of connection, and being very careful to hold that together, and also being able to reflect on how our relationship is like with this issue that's being brought into the session, and how we can hold space for the client in a therapeutic way. Yeah, maybe it's activating a different muscle in our practice as well. Like, how do you hold that space when it's something that is also what you are integrated into, and how this world is changing, and all the world events that are happening, or even society, like something that feels quite live for you as well. Yeah, I think just maybe it's part of our work also to understand that influence on ourselves, and how we can manage that space and be able to work effectively with our clients alongside that awareness.
And your practice also deals with psychological concepts that are fairly modern, things like neurodiversity, inclusivity, conversations with gender and sex. That's a very modern sort of conversation in society. And things are also shifting a lot more with that. So there's a lot to hold there. Right. And how do you balance tensions between quick solutions and deeper therapeutic work? I'm sure that you have a range of clients who have different needs, and there are some tensions where they want some sort of change seen very quickly, but there's also deeper therapeutic work to be done. How do you manage that tension?
I think for me, I manage it by being curious about how a quick solution has worked for them in the past, or why they might be looking for this quick fix. Because understandably, when we experience distress, we just want it to change or go away as soon as we experience it. So I think that's also a very natural part of the human mind, or wanting to make that go away. And there are resources that provide, I'm not sure if solution is the word, but it helps us to have in the moment resources as well to manage feelings of overwhelm. So from that perspective, I can see how, yes, we can do something to practice and add to your toolkit right now so that you feel more equipped to manage everyday challenges that you're facing so that you can feel more regulated. There's a higher chance of you being more regulated when you have that private space with yourself. So I do think that our toolbox is comprising of a range of elements that provide either in the moment resources or something to slow down that process where it's needed. Yeah, and being really agile or adaptable with what seems to be working for the client as and when appropriate in the therapy. Yeah.
I do believe that there is a place for both. And again, I agreed with Wei Xin. Not sure whether a quick fix is the term, but I think, yeah, just maybe practical strategies or resources that could really help them with practical issues that they're in, situations that they're in. There is always a place for that. And I do believe that not everyone is ready for depth work and ongoing explorations of themselves. Like, it requires some kind of safety. It requires some stability. Safety is very important for you to be able to do that work. And if your environment doesn't provide you that sense of safety, then it's also not the best time to actually do that. So it's also going back to understanding where the client is at. I believe that they are experts of themselves, they're experts of their lives, and they know where they are at, what they need. And as what Wei Xin mentioned, being curious about it and exploring with them in terms of what they need, and if those make sense to them for now, then yeah, why not? But I don't see it as more of like this or that, but it's all of the above. Yeah, it's needed for everyone.
Okay. Thank you. We spoke a little bit about this in terms of the external pressures that are constantly changing, but I was just curious about, like, do you perceive any trends locally in Singapore that, in terms of social or cultural pressures that come up in your therapy space?
I'm not sure about local, but specifically, I see or I hear, of course, let's say the use of AI technology. So even like AI as companions, as a presence that can be very validating. I see that happening more. And of course, a part of me feels encouraged that we have more resources in this world and people could get access to different perspectives more easily. That's great. But also, there is a shift, and for example, in expectation when it comes to relationship or friendships or just connections, where if there is this normalization of instant presence or instant validation and gratification from online presence like this, but it's not translatable to real life, then there is that tension between, yeah, feeling dissatisfied with relationship. I mean, I'm talking about it because, yeah, we work a lot with relational issues, whether it's romantic or friendships or even family, that individuals might not feel fulfilled with the relationships in their life, but actually upon digging deeper and understanding more, it's got to do with these standards that have been altered by other resources that are available. So that's just a recent trend, and I'm talking about this because I just recently saw this clip. I've not watched it, but doing a couple therapy between one human partner and one AI partner. So that really got me thinking, oh gosh, like that's where it's going. And it just shows the potential shifts in how human beings form connections or not form connections with each other. Yeah. So that's something on my mind recently.
Yeah. I think the technological aspect is quite prominent
Mm,
in how maybe certain aspects of the work have continued over the years in terms of working on relationships or some difficulties within interpersonal aspects of their life or in the workplace. At the same time, it's bringing in that change in how technology is
mm,
giving us maybe more assistance or a resource in some way, at the same time also being cautious or careful to notice the impact that it could be having on a person's life. Maybe it's given us more nuance to consider of how people are relating to others at this point in time as relationships change, society changes, and technology
mm.
changes alongside it.
Yeah, it's a very curious time when we talk about person-centered therapy, when there's a non-person in the room at the same time. It gets complicated,
Yes,
and we don't
yes.
quite understand it yet. And yeah, mm. Yeah,
And
that's
really, with the technology and the social media and the internet, everything, it's just the psychological distance is not there anymore, and
mm,
everything is just so close to you,
mhm,
and I think that's also a context that we have to be mindful of as
mm.
well.
And I think what you mentioned about the base of it is curiosity, and that sort of buffers things a little bit more to be open to anything that could be in the space. And most of it possibly could be subconscious too. So the curiosity does help to buffer it a bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, what might you want younger or newer psychologists or counselors to know about sustaining themselves in this work at this point in time with the vulnerabilities of changes that are happening so fast that psychological concepts aren't able to keep up yet? What do you want them to know?
I think to really stay agile, stay curious, also stay humble, and
Mm,
in the context of also keeping up with new updates, learnings, and especially like, for example, this practice, like I want it to be affirming, but what that means. And I hope that also this is relevant for the younger clinicians out there. If you want to be affirming, for example, what does that mean? Does it mean that you just accept people, or does it mean that you also continue learning and growing and updating yourself with the relevant knowledge and resources so that you are equipped to work with the population that you want to work with? So it's not just an open stance of just, oh, okay, I accept everyone, but it requires work on our end as clinicians to keep ourselves updated and not be complacent and just keeping up with the stresses of the world and not just be focused on, I think, that just the theory of some of the modalities, but it's really to connect with the person in front of us in the therapy room. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's probably so many layers behind what makes the therapeutic work helpful for somebody. And I think for younger practitioners, firstly, giving themselves a pat on the back as well, because it's not easy to
yeah.
navigate the therapeutic work in a world that's changing so quickly and with new challenges that have been arising as well. So this is me imagining that they're really wanting to support people in this ever changing society or with new difficulties that might arise, and wanting to support people as much as they can. At the same time, also being attentive to the areas that are less tangible, that we might not see, like how our resources internally get drained, as well as we do the work in a very natural way, that in filling up other people's cups, then something needs to be given from that as well, from our own resource. So I think paying attention to that can be quite a helpful aspect of like just being able to distribute my resources accordingly. And as much as I want to give to my clients, I also want to have a balanced life that I'm preaching in the sessions, to also be able to give to loved ones. And how do I divvy up that space as much as possible that allows me to also make a meaningful life, so that I'm continuing to feel resourced enough to support my clients and to be able to do work that is effective by continuing to reserve that space for self-reflection and self-replenishment at the same time.
And I think surround yourself with people that are aligned with you and know your values, like know what's important for the kind of work that you want to do. That you don't need to do everything, like you don't need to see all clients. And I think being very authentic with what's meaningful, what's important, and then surrounding yourself with the right people that could really lift you up and support you, and that you could support. So I think being very intentional as well in creating this community, because I think nowadays, like, we really have to make a lot of efforts in connecting with people and just be very intentional about it. So that's helpful in, I think, what Wei Xin is saying, also resourcing yourself and to have that sense of support, that because actually a lot of us are doing this, but we feel quite alone. So like, hey, don't be alone. Go meet people and connect with people.
Just don't be alone.
Don't be alone.
Yeah, there's something about going back to the community and the physicality of that as well, while increasingly we're virtually present, like right now.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's important for that community and physicality too.
Find your
And
connection, girl.
yeah, find your connection. Oh, good. Slip it right in there. And what currently feels alive, meaningful, or important to you in your practice? Something, maybe just one thing that you do to replenish yourself that's been consistently with you and you want to continue doing that for yourself.
For us, like as practitioners, or for our work with clients?
Both? Yeah. Yeah.
I think the connection is really important. Like I notice I'm struggling between finding time for myself. So I'm also still a work in progress, right? In terms of finding rest, because I use a lot of my time, like my off days when I'm not seeing clients, to catch up with people. I really schedule meetings and connection with either other clinicians, ex-colleagues, friends, and that's important for me. And I think that's energizing for me. Although, yeah, there's a part of me that wants a bit more rest. So I'm trying to balance it. That feels alive, because I've been thinking about, okay, how do I balance that better, where I do want to still make time for the clients that I see, but I also want to make time for the connections that I want to make and connection with myself. So I think it is always an ongoing consideration that is right now alive in me. Yeah.
Connection counts fertile 24/7. Yeah, I agree with what Dian is saying, in that I find that that connection can be branched out into so many avenues that can be replenishing at different times, and really checking in with ourselves to figure out actually what it is that will replenish us at this point in time. Sometimes it is having alone time, just to read or to do something solitary that helps us fill our resources as introverts. I would say we are introverted people. So being able to connect with people who we feel very close with can also be energizing in lots of ways, just through shared activities or a heart-to-heart conversation. So I think it's really finding the right fit for what you need at different time points and being guided by that, to be replenished.
And for me, I think I'm also just learning to be very selective as well, because I did throw this to the universe that I want to connect with people and communities and all that, and the universe has responded, and people respond, and there's more connection out there. But right now, I guess I'm at the junction where, like, okay, I need to actually be selective about what connections feel meaningful, and yeah, that would work for me. Yeah, that would be fulfilling. And so then this is also a time of like, okay, being intentional, like then not be just like FOMO out of like like, oh, like just having a fear of missing out if I don't go, if I don't do this, if I don't do that. But it's actually very important to be very intentional. So I think that's what's alive in me right now.
Yeah, FOMO is an interesting concept. I was just reading about it in a book called like 15 newest concepts that are shaping how we live and work. And FOMO is one of those concepts that seem to be very modern and very real. It's very, and it goes quite deep into us being very social creatures. And
yes, yes,
interesting.
yes. I mean, I'm seeing it a lot. I mean, in my own, I mean, day to day when I see, like, when I look at my calendar, it's just like, do I say yes? Do I say no? Like that feels so alive.
A lot
in
of
me.
decisions.
A lot of decisions, yeah.
This reminds me of something someone told me in a therapy room, where we are doing things all the time. We're fixing our schedule. We're thinking about how best we want to be better, doing and doing, but we're not human doing. We're human being.
Yeah, being.
So it's a contrast and that tension that just keeps coming up right now. Like, we're doing a lot. And you're doing a lot as a counseling psychologist for your clients, for yourself as well. And I thank you for sharing all those insights with me and Voices of Practice today. So, Dian and Wei Xin, we have come to the end of our conversation and our interview. And we really appreciate you taking the time today to be in conversation about your practice, sharing your insights on the trends in Singapore and generally, especially the external pressures that we're moving so fast right now. And we look forward to continually engage in the community of practitioners and your community in the connection ground to support the network and gain transparency of the field of mental health in Singapore. I think it's still quite, because everybody's in their own silos, and it'll be great to kind of come together and understand a little bit more about what we have in Singapore. So thank you once again. And
thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Take care.
Nice to meet you as well.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.